We will bring this edition of the Breakfast Show come to you this Monday morning. My name is Khadija Bangora.
And Mina Mebel Kaba, good morning. Today is Monday, the very first day of December 2025. And inside this edition of the Breakfast Show today, we don't look at different aspects and we get to do with the latest MCC scorecard. Well, today we can hear from the MCC themselves, where they can tell we how then they get some data, the two new indicators, them where they add na salon scorecard. You they can know how they add and they waiting and they look for grade the country them. All of that you they can know inside this edition of the Breakfast Show.
Well, this and other story them, they na the program for you this morning. Plus, we go get latest updates from the Sierra Leone police. As people can remember, every Tuesday, they can hold a press briefing for inform member them of the public, but the latest findings where the police get, we get for do with crime, we get for do with security and safe. As we all know, the police, now the law enforcement agency, we get the responsibility for ensure say, then join other relevant authority them for fight against this being term, then we don't begin to do on the spot check na different place then where they can get information say people linking in at inside and they where they deal with kush. Well, last Tuesday na be the last time where the Sierra Leone police be all a press briefing for update the general public on this particular issue where they go on now in the country. So today with we on the phone we get the head of media for the Sierra Leone police where they join we for talk about the key updates them from the last Tuesday press conference, including the current security situation, arrest them we get for do with Kush, and the wanted notice for one lady we then call Patricia Mansari. ACP Brahma Kamara, thank you for joining me this morning.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
All right, as you do, I don't brief we listeners them and we viewers them this morning. We they can talk to you for get latest update from what been come out from on a press briefing on a old Tuesday. Also on a talk about plenty things them, including a warrant of arrest where on a put out for a lady called Patricia Mansari. Firstly, let we start for begin talk about the highlight of on a last Tuesday press conference.
Okay. The press conference we try for say as best as possible. We will hold them every week so that we will give information to members of the public about the activities that we undertake, especially with regards to fighting drugs. So last week, Thursday, we had one. Previous weeks, then we also going to get them Thursday. Likely again this week we will get them. And so we brief the press about the activities that we took to undertake, and equally so we all the divisions we form under each region, because we get 6 administrative police regions. We get Freetown East and Freetown West for the whole of Western area, urban and rural. We get Freetown East and Freetown West. We in total then get up to 11 police divisions. Then we get Northwest. Northwest then get up to about 5 police divisions. Then we get Northeast, they get 7 police divisions. We get the Southern region, get 7 police divisions. And then we get the Eastern region, they get 7 police divisions. So in total, when you add the airport, safe, we got the airport, they operate on its own. Different from the police division, the airport they operate on its own. So put all our of together, we get 38 divisions. So then they under strict instructions, very strict instructions that they must go after any survey and get information for say this to happen and the drugs, then it's and then get tools and all the rest of it. So what we do every week, the number of raids that we then conduct now, all regions a day, we report on them, and the one that we go down the investigations, the one that we then go release, the one that we then go down charge courts, and the one that we then go down transfer guna Toku or transfer guna CID or transfer guna NDLA. We give all the report on them. But one key one will become this week where we actually report on the fact that we report on Patricia Mansari live na Sugarland, Goldfish. And we get information about them. And so the police go to the post. Unfortunately, they not be there at the time. But waiting police go for the meet them day. the kush, plenty one. And they also take the ID card, the meeting ID card, the meeting passports, all in at the host day. So the police will make sure say at the press conference, one of the picture they will get, we try for display unless somebody will sabi am. So they will give you more information about them. And after that press conference, we now try for publish a wanted notice. So if anybody gets any information, we know who say they, and that person they give that information, then we will respond appropriately. So we send one piece today as well. We get 7 live grounds. We the piece to waiting mark on Italy, so which means that will be the country of origin. So basically, this is what we do every week. We just run for the people, put the people on the alert and let them know what's happen. But we always tell the people and say, we get the presidential task force, where one among them will get the enforcement pillar. And this enforcement pillar is headed by the executive director of NDLA, and the other co-chaired by the IGP and CDS. Then get the operations then they do, we then get the ISLAF as part of them. But that notwithstanding, we also get Toku on their own. They say they conduct the same, they do the same work, they fed the drugs, and then we get the police divisions really under regions. They come and don't analyze them. They say they do their own. But the one they won't report on are the one way the police they undertake on their own, especially the one they do at the traditional level, and then collate at the region and send them to the police headquarters. So now that's so far. And all the investigations and they go on small, and then the one the way at the end of the day reach the threshold for level charge. Will be charged and court and try as best as possible to prosecute them. So that's the update, really.
MCP, on Patricia in case, is it that he not been there at all or he escaped upon arrival of the police?
We not meet him there. We not meet him at the house. So all the two scenarios it's possible say, well, you not be there at the house. So the word not be there at all. That's correct. Not be there at all. We not meet him at the house. And then the second ambit of it, they say he escaped before we arrive. He also possibly say he escaped before I arrive. Now that cannot be there at all. So that's the situation. We not meet him there. But we go inside the place and the information we'll get, say, the team waiting inside there. We really meet him inside there. We meet the kush inside there and then we take all our exhibits and then taking passport we left, taking piece to read in the host day, Saturday. And together with the ID card.
How long Patricia be done there under the police radar before una go so in place?
No, that one covert information. Covert information, you don't let them out. What we don't do overtly, we go to the host. That one we tell the public. But whatever we do covertly, that one is not for the notice of the public, because otherwise it gets a prejudicial effect to the investigations. But we get information, we acted on information, and the information will be a good food.
ACP, una display Patricia in picture and also in passport. Una allege say una gonna in house meet plenty kush and also a pistol and declare wanted. Waiting exactly the police go show aside this picture in passport and the pistol and kush where una meet na in house for allege say this lady where una don't declare wanted mix panenka and crime there, so for maybe import kush or import firearms scam na salon.
That the issues are Andy. We get information, say it deal with kush. And we're going to also need the kush too. So that is okay on the side of the police, because that's what we do it for, and we meet them. And additionally, you're not supposed to get firearms. If one forgets himself, if you go to small arms, we will do registration. But we work on our the ballistic aspect of it, we work on that. We'll meet firearms as well. So the law tell you say you not forget them, you not forget firearms. Then the law also tell you say if you get firearms, at least forget them lawfully. Then the law also tell you, say, you don't forget kush as drugs. You don't forget my possession. And when you talk about possession, someone is going to pass you inside your pockets. No. For as long as you get the oath, it did a possession. Now you get the motorcar, it did say the possession as well. You understand? So now that happened. Now in oath, now they will meet the kush, now they will meet the pistol, and fair enough, we also meet in passport day, where the social in the day, and we'll meet in ID card day.
This particular post where the police go search, una meet any other person there apart from Patricia where una be dey look for? Any other residents and be there?
Well, me not obtain that details. I'm not obtain that details. I only pay attention to the fact that they go to Patricia house, they meet Kush, they meet pistol, they meet the ID card, they meet the passport. But I not pay attention to the other details, whether people were there. I'm not there. So now that's not the situation.
SCP, this particular individual, Patricia, where una they allege say get dealing with kush and self firearms where una meet na in house. Is they on the run now? Whose step where the police don't take for trace am and arrest am?
The first step we don't take we now legitimate step where they conduct investigations, especially of this nation. Somebody is here for evade justice. I for put out warrants for that person and declare wanted, especially where you very well know say the person they on the run as you state. So that step they don't alert not only the other police officers, but you don't even alert the citizenry and any other boss will tap his alone. Even after alone. Say this person, then the investigator for drugs, but in order for give himself up for letting the investigations continue. So if you see now, remember you see the picture, you see the person, you say, oh, this person is not declared wanted. So you say get some kind of legitimacy for arrest her because based on our day. And even quite apart from that, even by just getting the information, say this person, you don't commit an offense, or likely you say don't commit an offense, you should say get right for arrest her as civilian. The power, the first criminal procedure act we get, that power they be under section 11. But this new criminal procedure act we get the under section 13. And the power the police get at that last criminal procedure act be section 13. But this new criminal procedure act is section 15. So you still, as a civilian, even when you reasonably believe say this person, you don't commit an offense, you get arrested without the warrant, without. Now that you already know now, say this person, police don't put them out very clearly, say a day on the run for an alleged offense we commit, and they say we should hold them or you give information about her. I mean, a kind of reward self go even be. It's justifiable for anybody see them some side and say, oh, now the Patricia this way the police declare wanted. So these are the big step we don't take, and that's not the genuine step we don't take. We at least going for April for there, we get at this person way we look at when a Patricia massacre.
Any other suspects and they were linked to the case of Patricia?
Yeah, even if they will not go disclose them because they tell well. Why should we conduct investigations? We begin to let out so much information. Not to say how the council can declare, if you can't say that this is the evidence we get. Which the evidence we can discuss. And for not just provide superficial information to the public, let them say we are transparent and we will do this, we will do that. But whatever party or whoever when a party, because in law we get what we call parties to a crime. We get the one the way we play parts before, during, and after. They all get different names the way we call them per law. So the one and we no need for them to become a public and put them out, especially if we're not able to lay hands on them. If we're not able to lay hands on them, it's far better we're not being called them by names and say like this or like that. But whilst we investigate the try from know if you get any kind team way to work with, and then we'll begin to say yes, now this or yes, now down they do it after. Down the day, the tendency will be for making themselves pull out. And by the time you know, we don't lose sight of them. We don't want to lose sight of them. We want for still for make sure say we continue for do the job the best way possible so that everyone the way responsible somehow will be then come to justice.
ACP, how many arrests una don't make recently of people who na suspect say na kush importer them?
Well, the categorization in terms of importers, that one will be done by Toku based on the investigations. It will be done by Toku, the Transnational Organized Crime Unit. From the point of view of public relations, we generally say we don't make a number of arrests. So those categorization now will be done by the Transnational Organized Crime. I not source that information from them for telling me, say, these ones are importers, these ones are distributors, these ones are retailers. I have not sought that information. Waiting I seek for acquire from them are the fact that they've made some arrests, and those arrests made are the one that they informed the public about.
All right, quickly before you left, we waiting at the progress where una don't make in terms of investigation and also arrest of main suppliers and the network of the kush.
What I would say basically now that we therefore continue for push the drive where we don't take, where we don't push on. We will therefore continue for follow that trajectory so that at the end of the day, the youthful population will be able to protect them. It's possible to say me picking out they take the drugs for now. It's also possible to say me family, I'm not with somebody directly related to me, not they take them. It's possible. But equally possible to say at some point, if we not get total control, then one day the future say no, they take them, then we have enough for take them. So that kind of thing they go round and round and round till you can't follow your foot. And if you tell them away, you not get even the power for even stop them because the person becomes so addicted. So which they say across the board, whoever you be and wherever you find yourself, let me continue for relate, and let me continue for help each other and help the security sector for threats. This kind of manage all the threats in society. It's a very big fight all over the world, by a very big fight, drugs issues. So we have to continue to call on members of the fourth estate, people that they are professionals, wherever than they, schools, colleges, homes, communities, they will all come together. Like this kind of push through, all the push through. We are for say many times to members of the public, they are really cooperating. And they are all their success that they make, I don't want to lie. The public, they really try. Me, I wake up in the morning, I put my phone on, I go on WhatsApp, you see number of messages people will send to me. I will take all of them, I send them to the team, and the team they act on them, and then people will send information, and they come back and tell me, say, hey, officer, we'll not serve you personally, but we'll get you line. But that information we give you, we see policeman and Canada, and really carry it and then can arrest. So that is so say we the work. We the work symbiotically, we support them, they say they support me, and things they happen. So now that kind of line we want for continue to say, wherever you find yourself, sometimes you might ready listen to even then careless conversation or sometimes friendly conversation. You get information the way you feel to say this information, police need them. Not keep them to yourself. Send them to me. Call 117. Call 900 for the police when are free. Pass that information and let we all will work on them for clean this country of whatever mess we somebody want for create. Understand? So that I would say, Khadija, we not say they do in our own job as members of the fourth estate, because each and every time now we get time for engage. The one they for engage, and they want the day as well, they for put out information way good for members of the public. So everybody's playing their own part. We are playing our own, now they play our own part, we play our own part. The members of the public say they play their own part, but let me not stop. Let me continue for play, we pass the way they play, so that one time more we will say, Salon, we don't go back to that level we did before we can't begin the able push, can't begin the able time at all, can't begin the able other things then. If it's not a substance will not good for the system, we get the potential for destroy the youthful population.
All right, many thanks. ACP Kamara, we talked to we this morning for give updates on Osauna Day now on various investigation and arrest them on don't make concerning people who they suspect say get and for do with the kush importation of the country. Well, that's not the head of police media, ACP Brahma Kamara, where they update the public on a particular suspect where they allege say they're gonna in us. They meet plenty kush they and save a pistol and other things them. But according to the police, this person they on the run will make them put out a warrant of arrest for her and then display in picture and in passport number to the public in case any member of the public see this particular individual, where police say a name Patricia Mansare, for let them go report him to the police so that police go bring her in for investigation. This is the breakfast show where they watch live on Liberty Online TV.
All right, so remember, say you say for the Wadi show can ask you question, make you comments regarding the thing that we will discuss at this edition of the breakfast show. Earlier we tell you now say one pan the thing that we can talk about again. Now the program this morning we can hear from the MCC, when at the Millennium Challenge Corporation, and they can tell we exactly how then they work forget the data we then can publish every year. We can show the performance pan country the indicators them where they can assess them on well. For can talk on the work with the MCC they do, especially the scorecard where we talk about this morning at the breakfast show. It's a pleasure to have you here this morning, Stephen Gruder, the country director for MCC. Good morning.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's all us. So let's just start by getting some clarifications when we talk about the scorecard. I noticed the recent scorecard, a lot of concerns regarding the indicators that you added. We'll come to that, but let's just qualify. Firstly, let's know, in terms of the countries, how do they get qualified to be on a scorecard? What do you look for a country to be on the scorecard?
Right. So the scorecard has about three things that we're looking for. One is, passing more than half of the indicators. So there used to be 20, now there's 22. So we're looking for countries that are passing over half of those. Then on the new scorecard, there is one indicator in particular, personal freedom, which is what we call a hard hurdle. So a partner country must pass that indicator. Then there are two other sort of hard hurdles where you have to pass either one or the other. It's control of corruption or government accountability. So that's what we call the control of corruption and accountability hard hurdle, and you have to pass one or the other of those. So half overall, personal freedom, and either control of corruption or government accountability. Once those benchmarks are met, you've passed the scorecard, and you're now in a category where the board of directors can consider selecting you for a new compact.
All right, Stephen, we'll come back to analyzing the various areas around the scorecard, but let me take you back to the MCC generally. For viewers who may not be familiar, what exactly is the Millennium Challenge Corporation and how does it work with partner countries like Sierra Leone?
The Millennium Challenge Corporation, or MCC, as we call it for short, is a federal program of the U.S. government. So we're in the executive branch, and we are working with partner countries around the world who are improving in their governance, investing more in their people, and we partner with those countries through a very intensive process to determine what are the biggest barriers to economic growth, right? So we want to focus on economic growth in our partner countries, creating opportunities for partner country citizens and for American citizens to do more business in a partner country. And so we've worked with countries all over the world, but many of them in Africa and actually many in West Africa. And we have what we call a threshold program, which is maybe a 10 to $50 million type of program. It's a 5-year program. And then we have compacts, which are maybe $100 million to $500 million programs that really focus on some of the heavy infrastructure. And so the compact is actually a very strong agreement. It's a treaty between the United States and Sierra Leone and with all partner countries that spells out exactly what the United States is prepared to pay for and what the partner country is prepared to pay for and which reforms they're going to take on as well. And so these documents are public documents. These are on the MCC website. They are available for anyone to review, but we are a program of the United States government working here out of the U.S. Embassy in Freetown to support economic growth in partner countries.
Now let's try to create a link between the MCC grant and the scorecard.
Sure.
Because there's been a lot of misunderstanding among members of the public. Sierra Leone recently received its MCC FY 2026 scorecard. Can you briefly talk us through what the scorecard measures and why it matters to the MCC?
So the scorecard measures indicators that are chosen by MCC's board of directors to reflect the priorities of our administration. Remember, we work in the executive branch of government, so that reflects the priorities of our administration, of the president and his team. But it also remains aligned with our statutory requirements as laid down in law approved by Congress. So this administration decided that they wanted to prioritize economic freedom and trying to revitalize private sector opportunities in our partner countries. And so they made some changes to the scorecard, working with our expert team and our board of directors to remove 2 indicators, add 4 indicators, change a couple of other ones, and also jostle around some of the data sources for these indicators. So it's kind of an update in a technical sense. And Sierra Leone had been doing quite well on its scorecard. I think the last time the country had a failing scorecard was maybe 2019. So it's been quite a while. And the current failing score is a result of these technical changes, right? It's not a result of government policy decisions here in Freetown. It's a result of technical changes where the U.S. government now is measuring slightly different data sets in its scorecard. So there's a bit of an overview.
But these technical changes, the governments are aware of the changes before they click in, right?
They are made aware briefly, shortly before the new scorecard is announced. So, there was not enough time for the government of Sierra Leone to adjust policy or really change scores on these indicators before the scorecard came out. Now that the scorecard is out, they're well aware of it, they're well informed, and they can take action to improve those performances.
So in terms of data collection, how do you decide which data reflects on the scorecard?
It's a good question, very technical. And so I would begin by referring you and your listeners to the MCC website again, where there's actually quite a lot of detail spelled out in writing with links to the actual data sources. But I will tell you, most of the data comes from the World Bank.
I thought you wanted to speak Creole.
I will tell you. Yeah. I wish my Creole was strong enough to do the whole interview in Creole, but okay. I don't think it's quite there yet. But yeah, a lot of the data actually comes from the World Bank, and so the specific data sources are actually linked on the website there, and folks who really want to dig into that can go into great detail.
All right, now let's try to understand Sierra Leone's performance for FY 2026. Sierra Leone passed about 9 out of 22 indicators. From the MCC perspective, how significant is this performance?
So from the MCC perspective, it's a new reflecting technical changes that nobody wants to see a failing scorecard. But at this time, we don't expect it to slow down compact implementation. We do expect that the government, as they always do, working with all of their donor partners, are keenly aware of the things that we measure and what we're interested in, and that they can take actions to try and improve these the performance on these indicators. So it's the scorecard is a very important input for the board of directors when they're determining which countries to select. And now that Sierra Leone has been selected, Sierra Leone has a compact, we're moving forward with implementation. These technical changes resulting in an unexpected failure, are something that the board watches, that they're aware of, but also we're really looking for, the government to take action to improve on them in the future and not looking to slow down compact implementation now.
The area of workforce, which I see indicated, that are not available, but it is in red. And for most people, all the indicators that are in red are the ones that the various countries fail to perform well. How will you explain it being in red, indicating that the government failed, but the data wasn't available because it's one of the new indicators?
It's a good observation. There was not data available for that indicator. And so I think the MCC team would like to see data available for that indicator moving forward. So that one may be a good opportunity for the government to seek out the data and make sure that it's being conveyed to the institution, or for the institution itself to also realize that this is important information to be measuring in Sierra Leone. So it's difficult for them to say that Sierra Leone is passing when there's no data. And so if there's no data, I think the default becomes failing for now. Hopefully more data comes.
One of the major challenges for Sierra Leone has been government effectiveness and also the control of corruption indicators, which is a hard hurdle. We must accept that it's very hard. And why is this indicator so central to the MCC eligibility?
Absolutely. Government effectiveness, control of corruption, these are things that keep people like me up at night, right? Because we are trying to steward hundreds of billions of dollars of US taxpayer money, right? And this is US taxpayer money that instead of being used to fix roads and telephone poles and everything back home, we are bringing to Sierra Leone to work with this country to build economic opportunities for Americans and Sierra Leoneans here. So if that money is not managed well, or if the potential economic impacts of these funds do not bring about the economic growth that they could because of corruption or because of government effectiveness, then it undermines the whole initiative, and it really sets back the justification for why we would be able to move forward. So we're assuming in our economic analysis that the investments in the compact are going to generate economic growth for Sierra Leoneans and for Americans. But corruption or government effectiveness weaknesses can hold back those results. So anytime we see a barrier there, we wanna encourage our partners to tackle that barrier and make sure that the economic growth can be achieved.
Government seems to be performing fairly well when it comes to the area of corruption under the scorecard indicators. But the government's effectiveness, how does the two work? Improving on corruption according to the indicators that have been coming out, but constantly failing in the area of the government's effectiveness. How does the two work?
Right. I would refer you to our indicator experts in DC, and we can follow up with that question in writing if you'd like. But generally, you can think of the two differences as government effectiveness being, kind of service delivery and being able to follow through on the public services that citizens are expecting. And then control of corruption has to do with public funds not being misappropriated for other reasons. So there are some countries, unfortunately, where control of corruption is quite high and government effectiveness is quite low. There are some other countries where control of corruption is quite low, but government effectiveness is very high. So it's they're not measuring exactly the same thing, although you're right to point out that both are important.
Some indicators performed strongly looking at the scorecard, such as gender in economy, child health, and trade policy. What do these improvements signal to the MCC?
Yeah, these are encouraging for sure. For economic growth, we think it's important to have the whole society involved. So the indicators on gender and child health are very important for broad shared economic growth. Trade policy is also encouraging to see that result. That's something that the administration is very interested in, is a strong trade policy with American partners. So, those indicators are certainly encouraging. They give us a sense that opening economic growth opportunities in Sierra Leone means that those opportunities can be achieved broadly across the society and can also facilitate trade with the United States. So those are encouraging.
From the MCC analysis, what are the priority or governance or policies reform Sierra Leone needs to strengthen to improve on future scorecards?
So there's a strong history of the Sierra Leonean government analyzing the scorecard and other partner expectations to fashion policies that can help improve the relationship. And I have every confidence that they'll be able to do that in this case as well. I would hesitate here and now as the country director to try and advise the government on how to go about that. But I have every confidence that they'll be able to do it well. And the scorecard is very transparent and open. Everyone can see it. You can also trace back the actual indicator sets and the sources of data. So it's a matter of doing the analysis, working the problem, and figuring out how to improve those indicators.
The scorecard for FY 2026, will it in any way affect the $480 million grant?
At this time, we are moving forward with compact implementation full speed ahead. And that's, even with the scorecard out. So, the board and our head of mission here at the U.S. Embassy are concerned about the result of the scorecard, but it's not slowing compact implementation at this time. We expect, the government of Sierra Leone to be able to respond and make corrective actions reflecting these technical changes. So I think there's an understanding there that this is a brand new scorecard. There's a new metric here. It's new indicators, and there will be some time to show improvements.
So apart from the compact, because this scorecard is for the financial year of 2026, is there any way it affects future funding for 2026 apart from the current compact?
So I would hesitate to speculate too far in the future about what our board of directors or congressional stakeholders or head of mission at the U.S. Embassy might determine.
Assessment to verify whether a country is capable to have a compact or any other supports, and it's for the year 2026. So if the performance is not encouraging, there must be a concern regarding the support for 2026. Does it affect the support in any way?
So yeah, just for clarification, by U.S. Financial year calendars, we're in fiscal year 2026 right now, and that started at the end of September, beginning of October, and we're proceeding with compact implementation. So as I've said, the compact is something that, or the scorecard is something that we would like to see improvements on, but there's an understanding that these are technical changes. And so we're proceeding with compact implementation at this time in fiscal year 2026. We don't anticipate it to slow down the funding for the compact. What may happen in the future beyond fiscal year 2026, I can't say for sure, but we don't anticipate an impact during this fiscal year.
Earlier, I asked about the indicators that has to do with control of corruption and government effectiveness. Year in, year out, these two indicators are weak. What is preventing Sierra Leone from making significant progress in these areas?
Well, that is a detailed question down in the data somewhere. But I will say that these indicators are essentially reflections of competitive performance between Sierra Leone and other peer countries, right? So this MCC scorecard is measuring peer countries to Sierra Leone, and passing an indicator means that they're performing better than 50% of their peers. In this case, with the World Bank's measurement being low-income countries. So among low-income countries, Sierra Leone is either performing better than 50% or worse than 50% on these indicators, and that's where the red and the green comes from. So even if Sierra Leone is improving greatly on control of corruption or government effectiveness, or if they're getting worse on those indicators, the passing and the failing is reflecting whether they're doing better than their peers.
Now the government and the main opposition, they are working together to implement the recommendations from the tripartite report. After implementing these recommendations successfully, is there a future prospect for the government to perform well in the area of government effectiveness in terms of political participation?
There may well be. But I'm not in a place to comment directly on the results of how a certain policy may or may not influence the scores in the future years. So one of the things we try to do actually is design the scorecard to be an objective source. So it's ultimately these are not MCC indicators, right? My team and I are not working on deciding what the score will be for next year. These are sourced from third-party institutions that are providing an objective and professional assessment based on their own visibility, their own sources, not MCC sources. And we try and do that so that we can be objective, so that we're not the ones doing the evaluation. We're drawing on the evaluations of experts in each one of these indicator sets.
You mentioned earlier about the country's performance compared to those of their counterparts. How will you describe Sierra Leone's performance for the financial year 2026 scorecard compared to those of the counterpart countries?
So Sierra Leone is having I would say a bit of a mixed result by the scorecard's measurement. Again, the scorecard's measurement for fiscal year 2026 is not reflecting changes in government policy. It's reflecting technical changes in the scorecard and what we're measuring. But when you look at those, there's more red than green, right? And so at the end of the day, you would like to see a very green scorecard. I know the government does here as well, and they always work diligently to do that, which is why I'm optimistic that we'll see improvements on the scorecard even throughout the year. But yeah, the scorecard is what it is. It's an objective measurement. It's comparative between countries, and so I think it's a good sort of encouragement for a little bit of competition to improve performance.
But is it a legitimate excuse for the new indicators? Because if a government has been working generally in all areas in terms of service delivery, and then there is a new indicator, there should be a data to prove that you've been doing something. So is it a legitimate excuse to say, because it's a new indicator, that's why we failed on it?
I mean, I wouldn't be making excuses or arguments, but I think that it is significant to recognize that these indicators are measuring things different from the past, and that these new indicators may not have reflected the policy priorities of the government. For example, a lot of the policy priorities of the government have been very successful in the scorecard, right? The education, trade policy, and others. And so, I think there's an opportunity here for the government to think about if they'd like to shift some resources in these directions, or whether there's just a matter of data lag and they need to make sure that the performance they have been achieving is recorded and reported. And I can't say which is the case in this situation.
Stephen, let's talk about the benefits and impacts of the MCC compact on the ordinary Sierra Leoneans. How do the MCC programs directly impact ordinary Sierra Leoneans, especially in the areas like electricity, economic growth, or governance?
Absolutely. The compact is designed to benefit all Sierra Leoneans in those exact areas. So when we were working with the government of Sierra Leone to determine which area of the economy the compact should focus on, we were able to identify needs all over the map, right? There's needs in health, there's needs in agriculture, there's needs in water, but we narrowed it down to electricity. And we determined that the best role for the compact would be to focus on building out and improving distribution and transmission infrastructure so that the private sector and other partners can work on the generation space, and the government and other partners can work on the access space, really connecting folks to the grid. But I think one of the major things, well, two major things I would highlight that the compact is designed to do. One is to extend the grid into rural areas. So right now, about 80% of electricity in Sierra Leone is consumed right here in Freetown, right?
The car power ship.
The car power ship is one of the main generators of the electricity for sure. Yeah, and the network around other parts of the country is very limited, right? And so in order to have electricity in different towns and in rural communities, you need high voltage transmission infrastructure. So we have a program in the compact, the Southern Transmission Corridor, to build a high voltage transmission line through the southern part of the country, connecting with the CLSG in the south. And that will then open up opportunities for electrification of communities along that transmission line. The other thing that's really critical, aside from just moving electricity access outside, helping to move it outside of the capital city, and build a whole network among electrified cities, is to bring in dispatch and control capabilities. So you may have noticed sometimes your electricity spikes, or it dips, or it goes out. And if you have your television connected, you have your microwave connected, whatever it is, it can destroy those appliances sometimes. So that's a problem of reliability on the grid. Is it providing the same amount of power at the same voltage to your appliances? So the compact is going to bring in dispatch and control capabilities that will be both for the distribution network and for the transmission network to try and stabilize that surge or drop in power so that it can be more consistent. And once that's achieved, then economic benefits of that are tremendous, because there are many businesses even now who are connected to the grid, but they don't use it as much as they could because they're afraid it will destroy their machines. So they use generators still. Once that dispatch and control capability is there in a national way, the stability of the power becomes much more reliable. And part of doing that is putting information and communication technology throughout the entire grid. So in that respect, almost anywhere that there are electricity lines in Sierra Leone, the MCC compact will be there at some point.
Some of these things, they are not just one-off. It's a long-term partnership with the government of Sierra Leone. And in as much as you're implementing the compact, you have some certain stages. You have to sit down and look at some of the reforms and the commitment level from the government of Sierra Leone you are in a partnership with. What are the MCC's expectations from the government of Sierra Leone in terms of continued partnership or in the area of reform commitment?
It is a partnership, and that's very important. And in many respects, it's a medium-term partnership. So when you have strategic planning for national infrastructure in particular, you have short-term needs, you have medium-term needs, and you have long-term needs. And what we've tried to do with the compact is to tackle some of the very complicated and expensive medium-term needs. So I know everyone is eager for the compact to have construction underway and progress underway, but it's important to remember this is not a short-term solution, it's a medium-term solution. And so you're absolutely right. The preparation is extensive to be able to do these large national scale transmission, distribution, infrastructure projects. And so we're in that preparation process now. And we're in a very sort of interesting time period where we've signed the compact, but we've not yet entered into force. And the entry into force is what begins the 5-year clock, as we so to say. Well, that's kind of the question. So to give you a sense of how the timeline works, my team and I do not implement the compact, right? We fund the government of Sierra Leone to hire a team that is then going to go implement the compact. Our team will help coach and do quality control. That team will be governed by a board of directors. That team's not yet been hired, right? So we're in the recruitment process now for the executive team, and actually you should see soon public advertisements for procurement director, communications director, and finance director, and we would encourage folks who are interested to apply to those. But that team then is going to take up the procurement of design consultants to finalize the designs for the infrastructure. And you need some time for that design work to be completed before you enter into force. Also, before you enter into force, government partners in MCC compacts need to satisfy conditions precedent. So these are agreements that we made in our compact that are public for everyone to go in and review. And in Sierra Leone's case, the government and the United States government agreed on five conditions precedent. So one is the operationalization of an independent collection account. The government is working on that now. We hope to see a procurement on the street soon. The other is adoption of a sector policy roadmap that was developed during compact development to identify what you were talking about earlier, short-term, medium-term, long-term policy reforms, which ones the compact is going to do, which ones other folks are going to do.
It looks like a long road, Stephen.
It is an important road to take and to travel well, because again, these are not immediate solutions. These are medium-term solutions for the well-being of Sierra Leone, well beyond this compact. And so, yeah, the preparation and the timeline is important.
So based on your projection, is 2026 possible?
I think 2026 at this point we're in December 2025. So
Yeah.
I think that one is unlikely. If we can do it, great, but I think probably 2027 is more likely for the entry into force. And again, a big part of that is to make sure that the government can complete these conditions precedent, but also that the design and preparation work for the compact can be completed in a proper way, so that the infrastructure during that 5-year time period is completed. If it's not, at the end of that 5-year time period, the American team goes back, and the Sierra Leonean government is responsible to finish all those programs without the funding.
So the Trump administration changes did not affect this compact in any way, because initially for some people, their excitement got dampened when the Trump administration took over and made a lot of changes in terms of support to countries like Sierra Leone. So it did not affect this compact at all?
That's right. Other than the timeline, I think, the Trump administration took some time to really understand this compact, as they did all compacts. And after the review, they gave us the approval to proceed with implementation without any modification. So they said, okay, that compact, get back to work. And we were delighted to receive that approval from the administration. And so that's what we've done, is to resume implementation, to get this executive team hired, to get the procurements out the door, all of the paperwork and the legal work to move this programming forward resumes. And it's as agreed in the compact documents that are publicly available to everyone.
The government of Sierra Leone also made a commitment to pay part of the money to ensure this is done. How would you describe their cooperation so far, be it financially or ensuring that what needs to be done from their own end, they comply? How would you describe their performance?
The government contribution in this compact, I think, is very important, because if you just look at MCC rules for compacts, Sierra Leone was not required to make a government contribution. So the government did this voluntarily. And that to us is a very strong signal of their commitment to this program and of their commitment to the partnership at large, is that they are committing $14.2 million to the program. So when you add that to the 480 million that the US government is bringing, we're close to a $500 million program. Now, that aspect of the agreement, as well as every other aspect of the agreement, needs to be followed through with, right? The United States needs to honor its commitments to the agreements. Sierra Leone needs to honor its commitments to the compact, and the country contribution is one of those. And so we are still looking for how that will materialize. We're still very early in compact mobilization. We weren't expecting it to be completed by now, but that is looking at a very important contribution to the infrastructure component of the compact. So it's, right now we're in kind of startup administrative support period, and the infrastructure is coming later. But we would like to see, some good progress on the country contribution and really know that that's going to come to fruition.
Stephen, is there a risk that Sierra Leone could lose momentum or fall behind in the implementation of this 480 million compact if the government stall behind in their own commitments?
That's certainly a possibility. That's certainly a possibility. That would be a discussion between the U.S. government and the Sierra Leone government, trying to understand the situation at hand with regards to the country contribution. But yes, that's certainly a possibility, is that, if the government is not honoring the agreement, that we would be very concerned about that and want to see corrective action.
So now that you've made it clear that the government's commitment towards this program is very essential, and we've been seeing government programs stalling because of funding, because of finances, and even the budget that was laid in Parliament last Friday. The public is concerned with some areas of increment in certain sectors. And now that the government needs to raise this amount of money they've committed to before full implementation of this compact, what would you want to say in area of support from the civil society perspective, the media, and even the ordinary citizens? So that, because all of these programs, especially the area of electricity, it is quite bad. It is not a secret. And the citizens will benefit eventually if Sierra Leone has a reliable electricity supply. So how will the citizen rally behind government to prioritize this commitment, so that when the US government brings its own commitment, Sierra Leone will be ready to meet halfway, implementation will commence?
It's a very good question. That's a very good question. And I wouldn't presume to understand all the intricacies of Sierra Leonean politics and how the budget, comes to fruition. But I do think that recognizing public goods as good for everyone is very important. And I think it's very important in Sierra Leonean society as well as it is for us back in the US. It does sometimes mean that your own particular special interest may not be met, or may need to wait, or it may not look or feel the same way. And so I think that sense of patriotism and that sense of duty greater than oneself, greater than just the benefit that I can see in my particular community, but thinking of the national good, the public good that the infrastructure represents, I think, more of voicing that patriotism, voicing that perspective of national unity, and expressing support for budget initiatives that deliver on public infrastructure, even if they're not delivering necessarily for your specific community. You might live in a very rural town that's not going to be connected to the grid, but you can still recognize the national benefit. And if you can encourage and affirm that patriotism to your public representative, I think the budget process can be much more constructive.
What about the sustainability plans? In as much as you've not effectively started the implementation process, but what are the plans around sustainability?
Sustainability is one of our key concerns in all MCC compacts. As I mentioned earlier, we're stewarding a large amount of taxpayer dollars that we've taken abroad rather than keeping at home. So the stakes are high for the outcomes to be successful, both for Sierra Leone's economic growth as well as the United States business opportunities and economic opportunities here in Sierra Leone. So, I think success is something that we frame in the context of sustainability. Can we go and build these transmission lines? Of course. Can we fix up the distribution network around Freetown? Of course, anything can be done. Will it still be operational? Will it still be benefiting the public and investors 3, 4, 5 years after I leave? That's what's really valuable to us. That's what we're really concerned about. And so that's why we actually take this compact approach. We make a very strong international agreement that requires conditions precedent for entry into force, because we think that those are critical for sustainability of the compact. And then even after those are satisfied, throughout the duration of the compact, there are other conditions precedent that need to be evaluated on a quarterly basis to make sure that the government and other partners are following through. And each of those is specifically designed to make sure that the compact can be sustainable long term. After the compact ends, we close it out. My team and I leave. I only come back here for vacation from time to time. Let's say we have a team that will do monitoring and evaluation for the next 20 years, right? So they'll be checking in on the situation, and we measure that over 20 years to make sure that the investment is productive and that it's sustainable. And if it's not, then that reflects in our thinking about whether or not to work with that country again, right? Because we want to have these programs successful. We want them to be delivering economic growth over the long term, medium-term investment, long-term impact. And if they're not, then sometimes it poses questions in the back of our mind. Wait a minute, should we be going back here, or should we be working with another country that's providing sustainability in a more meaningful way?
So, Stephen, let me just ask. I know it might sound very critical, but it's good for the public to have an understanding how realistic it is for Sierra Leone to achieve compact eligibility in the next assessment cycle.
In the next assessment cycle?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the compact is eligible right now, and we're moving forward with compact implementation. I think it's very realistic for Sierra Leone to maintain eligibility. I think it's never something that is stagnant, permanent forever. It's always a reflection of a productive, collaborative partnership between the United States and Sierra Leone. And if our partners are starting to drift away from the commitments that we have in the compact, then we start to express concerns. If the scorecard or other things continue to drift away, we start to express concerns.
Have you in any way got to that level of expressing concerns?
We haven't at this point. I mean, obviously the results of the scorecard are disappointing, but we understand those to be results of technical changes, and we expect to see strong progress on that over the next calendar year. So for now, I don't.
Be my next question, because you are in country, you are working closely based on the partnership you have with the government of Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Based on observation, do you think they will perform better next scorecard year?
I certainly am optimistic. Yes. This government has been very successful on the scorecard and on making improvements. And I think that they have another opportunity to demonstrate that here and now, because these are new indicators. And so it can show, their continued ability to make improvements. So yes, I am optimistic. I'm an optimist by nature, and I think you have to be when you're tackling these challenges. That's improving the electricity grid in Sierra Leone is just difficult for all parties involved. MCC is an important part of the strategy. We're not the whole strategy, but it is it's a hard thing. And so I want the public to remain hopeful and optimistic, but also engaged, right? And helping their community leaders, their leaders in parliament, pay attention to what is necessary for us all to achieve this goal together. And so I think we can, but I'm under no illusions that this will just be an easy effort.
So it means the assessment is on now for the next scorecard, especially for the new indicators.
For sure. The assessment is always ongoing, and there are key moments where there's more analytics being done or there's more interviews being done. But we don't just rest and unengage, right? We always remain engaged with our partner countries. It's a continuous process, you know, and you know, it's something that is alive. It's not stagnant.
Apart from the $480 million compacts, what are your other areas of intervention currently, or you're just focused on that?
So for the compact, it's 100% in the energy sector, 100%, and we made that decision in concert with the government very strategically to say, you know, there's a lot of need here, and the solution is a very complex one, and so we need to focus all of our resources on the energy sector. Now, I'm just one of the team members at the U.S. Embassy here in Freetown, right? So I'm leading the compact, and we are working on the energy sector. But the U.S. Embassy is doing all kinds of things in Sierra Leone to advance the broader partnership, right? You know, Peace Corps and CDC and everything they were doing with state and econ. And so our head of mission can speak to that more broadly. But I'm very proud of the work that we're tackling in the energy sector.
I know you're about to leave us now due to a busy schedule you have, but before you leave, the area of accountability and transparency is very essential for a successful implementation of the $480 million grant. Although the government is committed to bringing more upon the program, how does MCC ensure accountability and transparency in the implementation of this project?
Great question. Great question. Accountability and transparency is really key to our work and very central to how we go about implementing these compacts. And we have processes and procedures that are standardized for all compacts. So there's not really a lot of special transparency or accountability measures here in Sierra Leone. It's the same ones that we use in all of our partner countries. And those include quarterly reviews of the disbursements that are needed for the next quarter. So this executive team that we're hiring now, they'll begin putting together a work plan. They'll make requests on a quarterly basis for the amount of funding that's necessary for that next quarter.
Of the United States.
From that's right, as represented by MCC.
So they're disbursing directly to the executive board.
Part of the funds will go to the executive team, the MCA Sierra Leone. They'll have a bank here in Sierra Leone, and some of the funds will go there for their operational needs. A lot of the big payments for transmission line works or refurbishment of distribution lines will be paid directly to the contractors. And that's because it's easier for everyone, and it also is less opportunity for any confusion. We just want the money to go directly to the service provider in cases where we can do that. But you know, a good amount of the funds needs to come here to cover the administrative costs as well.
All right. Many thanks, Stephen, for joining us this morning. Now, I'm sure our viewers have got a lot of education or knowledge on how the entire MCC program will work and where you are now and where you intend to go, especially on the implementation timeline. It was a bit confusing from the members of the public. It's good you've made it clear that based on your projection, implementation will fully start sometimes in 2027 because you are going through recruitment and other preparation now. It's a pleasure to have you here this morning, and when need be, we'll reach out again so that we'll provide more information for the general public. Thank you and have a good day.
My pleasure. Thank you too.
All right. Well, we'll come back to Una, continue for Watch Liberty TV. We'll take this short break. We'll come back. We'll go look at another issue inside the program this morning. Parliament on Friday, the Minister of Finance, Sheku Ahmed Fantamadi Bangura, go with the budget for 2026 financial year. And from snippets, them we don't go around social media, a lot of conversation they happen around this particular budget. So the minister don't go in a parliament, although member of parliament they not begin for debate it, but the public don't begin for talk about her. And of course, you get the finance Act as well, where even Kergo, before it Kergo, the budget for 2026 fiscal year. Lots of conversation don't they happen around it, and we try forget the authority them at the Ministry of Finance. They can discuss all of the issues there. So especially on the figures we get for do with the office of the president, where many citizens they question now. We will continue for follow closely as member of parliament them go soon begin for debate the budget and lawyery, waiting at some of the issues them will come out from this budget, and also the Finance Acts. Civil society organization them about the 8 come together and pull a press release on Friday who deal with that issue. They also then they condemn the 15% increment on the tax where the government of Sierra Leone levied on bottled water and self-bouncer water. So it's obvious, say January 1st, this particular finance bill will become effective and prices of bottled water and self-bouncer go up. And this is a concern from the civil society organization them, especially when they say people only buy bouncer water, not a luxury, because the country they get water crisis. So if they increase this particular amount, it's obviously the service provider themselves go increase the amount where citizens them get for buy this water. Well, we go try forget the Ministry of Finance, the National Revenue Authority, for that they can tell we, or that they can describe this particular budget and the Finance Act where they don't go in our parliaments. Well, many thanks to all we don't join we this morning for the breakfast show, and to you we don't send you comments, and also you we don't left you message. Lord, just quickly watch at on our messages them we una don't send before we go wrap up the conversation this morning. And earlier we'll be there with the director for the Sierra Leone MCC program. We give a lot of clarification on who side and they now in terms of implementing the MCC compact. They make them very clear, say that they prepare now, and the preparation will lead them on to 2027, where then go begin full implementation. Now just look at a few messages that maybe
All right. Sylvanus Hardin, he said to know who Patricia connected with. I may like the police to check the NCRA as her ID card was apprehended for more details on her mobile number that will lead the police through the mobile companies who communicated with her before police get to her premises. And this gets to do with the Patricia lady where the police on declared wanted because then go catch gun and also with life rounds and also kush materials them.
All right, this one on the MCC. This person from YouTube, they say strong trade policy with American partners means a lot, including obeying Trump tariff policy.
Chena Abdullah Kabo said the USA is not helping Africa and they will never help us if not for their interest. It continue to say they are using the MCC, IMF and World Bank and also our politicians to increase taxes on us.
All right, the one they take say Sierra Leone is in the list of the Trump administration of 19 countries of concern. We want to know why and if that does not affect the MCC. Well, unfortunately, this message came in the Terry Stephen Dongo.
This one from Paul Kanu. How can you correlate a high score in fighting corruption but a fail in government effectiveness? Does the scorecard actually capture reality, and how objective is it?
This one we are going to take the last stage for now. They say if the house belongs to Patricia, that means it will be seized.
And the final one we go to, because of time, Ronald Beresford, George Stone say this is what happens when you have an economy that can't sustain itself with all its natural resources into turning these resources in added value in foreign currency, but relies on donor funding with conditions that has kept Sierra Leone stagnant.
All right. Well, from the messages then they now, so they end the breakfast show for today. Many thanks to you, we don't join we. Thanks to Musa Saukoma, we support the production team for let this edition of the breakfast show come to you. Continue for watch Liberty TV throughout the day as we get very interesting content them where we they produce for now. And also watch throughout the day as we they bring counter issues where they happen all over the country as this now the only digital platform where they get issues of public interest. Mina Khadija Bangura, they wish you now all a productive week ahead.
All right. Until we meet again, Mabel Kabade, so get a lovely week and stay out of trouble.